Good afternoon. Welcome to Griffin Coffee Talk. Oh, hello. Didn't see you there. You caught me in my post-lunch siesta. Good afternoon, Griffins. I'm Lieutenant Commander Tarbox, your Future Operations Officer. Welcome to our first virtual town hall for our move to Spain. I know you all have a lot of questions and concerns about the move and how it's all going to work. There's a lot of moving parts in this whole process, so I totally understand where you're coming from. It can be very confusing. So today we're going to put out some basic information to hopefully cover a lot of the questions that you're having. We're going to start with some words from Skipper, XO, and CMC. I'm going to give a brief on the rules and regulations associated with our move, and we'll also hear from Senior Cardenas about what life is like in Spain. So we'll also be having a live question and answer session at the completion of these briefs. So please pay attention, take notes, and write down any questions that you have, and please submit them to us so we can answer them for you. Thank you for your attention, and I'm excited to talk about Spain.
Want to start, sir? You can just go and speak normally. These are all going into the outtakes.
We did one take. We did the Christmas video.
Yeah.
Hello, Griffins. Commander Peters, your skipper here. It has been my honor and pleasure to be the XO and CO with you for the last year and a half, to the last year on the Abraham Lincoln and Dukem and all those things. But our time with our friend Abraham Lincoln, it's over. That cup. Thanks, CMC. So today, we're going to have our town hall and talk about Spain and our move to Spain and all things related to that. So what I can tell you right now is we're not going to have every single answer to every question, but I do encourage you to write down your questions, to bring them to your chain of command, because we will aggressively find answers to those questions. This is an extremely complicated process. We're going to sit through several briefs today, and then we'll have a question and answer session. A couple things I want to talk about here up front. Why are we moving to Spain? So right now the U.S. has 4 destroyers that are stationed in Rota, Spain, that provide ballistic missile defense, or BMD, in the Mediterranean area. All of those are Flight 1 DDGs, destroyers, which means they don't have hangar facilities capable of carrying helicopters. They are being replaced by more modern destroyers that, in addition to modernized BMD equipment, they have hangars and facilities for helicopters, 3 of the 4. So that means we're going to be, in the long term, providing 3 detachments on those 3 destroyers that will be moving over the course of the next year and a half from Norfolk over to Rota. So this process is going to start in October of this year with our first group going over there. It's actually going to be 2 separate groups. The XO is going to talk a little bit later, and he'll get into the specifics about a permanent change of station move, or PCS, a permanent duty station shift, or PDS move, and then the temporary duty, or TAD, because many of you will be on different sets of those, and he'll get into the details on that sort of stuff. So that's why we're going to go to Spain. I can tell you right now, with all the COVID things hanging over our head, that's put a distraction and it slowed down our operations here and our training, but the facilities are still being constructed right now in Spain. So we'll have temporary facilities that will be ready this summer, and we will occupy those, both office spaces and hangar spaces, for several years in the temporary, while a permanent hangar is constructed. I don't think that will be ready until the end of 24, so I don't know if anybody in this command will still be here when we move into the permanent, when the squadron moves into the permanent spaces, but we're laying the groundwork now. So the point is, even with COVID and Spain being hit hard, they're still building our facilities, and we are still, as of today, on track to move this fall. I talked about already that we're going to put out a lot of information today. We're not going to, every piece of information we're going to give you, you're probably going to have 3 questions. For every answer you get, you're going to get 3 more questions. So just write everything down. There's many different circumstances, dual military, single parents, EFM, pets, many others. So just write those down, and we'll continue to work to get answers to your questions. There's a lot of people involved in this process, and we'll continue to do that with Lieutenant Commander Tarbox and Senior Munoz as our leads. Okay, so I'll close it with this before I turn over to the XO to really get into the nitty-gritty. Is we're an amazing squadron. I believe every day that this is a special place, and we are a special squadron composed of special individuals. I really mean that. And not anybody can do what we have to do. We have to go from being a carrier squadron coming off the longest deployment since Vietnam, transition to an expeditionary model, switch from CAG-7 to HSM Wing Lant, and then still have HSM Wing Pacific involved, and we have to stand up these debts and get ready to deploy them to overseas to a place that has never had 60 Romeo helicopters. So a lot of stuff, and we have all the COVID-19 stuff going on, and we don't know when the end is going to be on that. But I'm confident we can work together, we can stay calm, and we can get through this together. Enjoy the rest of the brief today, and please take good notes and good questions, and bring us your questions. Skipper out.
Yeah. When she's like eating the food while she's doing her like stand-up routine. Oh, yeah. I know.
I know.
Because I was like, what else has she been in? I'm like, Hey, Griffins. Thanks for joining us, and thanks, Skipper, for that intro. All right, so I'm here to explain the big picture of how we're going to accomplish this move to support our operations in Rota, Spain. So first of all, as Skipper alluded to, we're going to be operating over the next 2 years. We're going to be operating here in San Diego. We're going to be operating on the beach, on La Playa in Rota, Spain, and we're going to be operating on the back of DDGs. Those operations are to support Forward Deployed Naval Force Europe, or you might hear FDNF East operations, and that's the mission for the Griffins. That's why we're going over there. So in order to accomplish that, really everything starts this October with our first detachment that will be on board the ship, as well as our La Playa det, and those are the members of the command and new gains that we will get in order to support operations on the beach in Rota. So I'm going to throw a few terms out here. You're going to hear more about this in detail from Lieutenant Commander Tarbox. But really there's a couple different terms that you need to understand because it affects what category you are, as well as when you're going to move and whether you'll be able to bring your family with you. So the first term is a PCS, so permanent change of station. Every Griffin, when they came here and they got their orders, they got PCS orders to HSM 79. We are going to be allowed to get our own UIC that's subordinate to HSM 79 to allow them to move sailors to Spain before we do the entire squadron move in fiscal year 22. So those sailors that get the PCS orders, some will be wearing Griffin patches now, some will be coming from outside the command. They will get orders to Spain underneath PCS rules and PCS orders. The second group is the PDS. That's a permanent duty station change. That is going to be the squadron's entire move to Rota, Spain. So with the PDS, there's two other terms that you'll learn. One is called the promulgation date, and the other is the effective date. Promulgation date, think of that as the start of the move. That's when we can first start moving Griffins over there. As I mentioned, that's fiscal year 22, so December of calendar year 2021 opens the window. We can start sending sailors on orders, a unit move order from San Diego to Rota, Spain. The effective date is the end of that move. That will be July of 2022. That is when we've officially moved our UIC, we've planted the flag, and the Griffins are in España for then on out. So between December of 2021 and July of 2022, that is the squadron's PDS. Okay, so I've mentioned a couple different terms there. Again, we're doing those both together to support the operational requirements that we're going to have before the squadron actually moves completely over to Spain. And then we're also going to be TDYing people out to Spain. So that's kind of the third category. Most of those sailors are ones that will not be able to move the squadron because you don't have PRDs to support that, or you don't meet the rules necessarily to move your families overseas. So the TDY category, think of that as a deployment. And we'll be out deploying on the DDGs in Spain. Now, these deployments are not like deployment on the Lincoln. These are shorter deployments, and they will be done on two aircraft detachments on the board the DDG. They'll be shorter in duration, and they're more frequent. So we'll be swapping sailors in and out. And as the skipper said, at multiple command quarters, we're Griffins first, and we're going to be a flexible team able to support those Griffins no matter whether you're on Det 1, Det 2, La Playa det, because we'll be agile and flexible over the next 2 years to support all those operations. Lastly, I'd just say this is an incredibly exciting time. We are the first HSM squadron ever to move to Rota, Spain. There's a lot of people that are leaning in hard to support us in our move over there. And from what I've heard from people that live in the south of Spain, they're an incredibly welcome community to the military there, and very loving. And they're going to be embracing us with open arms in the south of Spain. So next I'm going to turn it over to CMC. She's going to talk more about what it's like living in Spain and kind of how we intend to roll out the information. I know this is a lot of information. It's a lot when I first got the data dump on the HSM 79 move to Spain, so take it all in stride. Feel free to rewatch these videos or the briefs. make sure you're asking the questions, and if we don't have an immediate answer to you, we're going to work really hard to get you the information you need, you and your families need to be successful. All right, thanks so much for your attention. XO out.
Oh, you really are. We're really ready.
We're just prepping, making
Oh.
sure we get some good outtakes.
Hello, I'm Command Master Chief Hastings, and we've heard from the skipper and XO. Thank you very much, XO. And I'm going to be talking today a little bit about how we're going to learn about Spain and how we're going to get ready to go there, and then how are we going to roll out this information to you, the sailor, and the family. Our goal is to provide each sailor and family with a detailed personal plan to make your transition smoother. In order for us to do that, we've developed a series of workshops. Those workshops are broken down into 5 different groups. The 5 different groups are our single sailors, sailors without dependents, our single parents, our dual military couples, our exceptional family member or EFM sailors, and then lastly, our traditional family unit. Each of those different groups will have their own workshop held here at the command, and it's going to help you develop an individual plan for you and your family to transition from San Diego to Spain. In addition to that, we'll hold different town hall meetings in the evenings for your families to come to so that they can ask their questions, get their answers, and start networking together as we move our Griffin family from San Diego to Spain. In addition to the workshops in the town halls, we also have some pretty great resources. We'll have Spanish language discs that we'll be handing out so people can learn Spanish. We'll have people come in and talk about the Spanish culture and things that you can do over there. And we are pretty fortunate and very, very lucky to have our own Senior Chief Cardenas, who lived in Spain, in Rota, Spain, actually, for a few years with his family. And he is literally our resident expert on all things Rota, Spain. And you guys will be hearing from him shortly about what life is like on the base. Everything from where do I get my teeth cleaned to what is the school system like. He'll be able to answer all of those questions. So as we move forward, write your questions down, make sure you bring them up. Don't let them linger. Moving can be a very high anxiety evolution, and it's our goal to reduce that anxiety for you and your family by providing you timely information and helping you develop that plan. That is all I have, and thank you very much.
Hola, yo amo Alex, or better yet, my name is Alex. Hope everybody's excited about Spain and visiting Spain. Just to give you a little bit of background about myself, I lived in Spain for about 3 years, from about 2012 to 2015. I took my wife and my 2 sons with me, and which they were both, or all 3 of them were a little apprehensive at first when we started to move down there, which is common, a little nervousness. But once we got there, it was the best thing that happened to us, and we thoroughly enjoyed our time. And by the time it was time for us to go, we didn't want to leave. And so I'm excited to let you know that Spain is a fantastic place to visit and live. Let's see. So life in Spain, for the most part, is not fast-paced at all. Very chill, very calm and relaxed people. The culture, great, very historical. If you want to know about or see anything of the Roman ruins, you can see that. If you want to learn about how the Moorish affected Spain as well, you'll learn a little bit about that. There's so much history in Spain. It's you can immerse yourself in all different kinds of ways with the historical value with Spain. The people are very personable. It's very common when you see a Spanish person, they'll come and greet you with a kiss on the cheek. kiss on each side of the cheek, and say hello, or hola is a common phrase to say hi. The food is fantastic. Loved every minute of it, and you can get Italian food out there. They've got Chinese food out there, but the best part is actually the Spanish food and the local cuisine, which I thoroughly enjoyed as well. And the living, once again, I said was like I said before, was very relaxing, very chill, and the Spanish people are not in a rush to do anything. When it comes to working, but they work hard, and they also play very hard and have a good time, and it's a very cool culture to be around. Okay, so talk about the base. Naval Station Rota is located on Base Naval de Rota, or the base of Naval Rota, a Spanish naval base on the southwest Atlantic coast of Spain, adjacent to the cities of Rota and El Puerto de Santa Maria, or commonly referred to as El Puerto or Puerto, however you want to say it. But people will know what you're talking about when you say El Puerto. The city of Rota is halfway between Portugal and Gibraltar and is predominantly a tourist town serving as a vacation destination for travelers from all over Europe. There is beautiful and historical culture throughout the city. The weather is similar to what we have here in San Diego, normally sunny from about 65 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Also, like San Diego, Rota has great beaches, as well as the food is just fantastic, the cuisine. Although I will warn you, if when you order seafood and you order fish, you will get the fish head with the eyes. So if you don't want that, you can request not to have that. But you have been forewarned. Although it's still good food. Rota is roughly about a 6-hour drive to Madrid and a 12-hour drive to Barcelona. Flights are fairly cheap to get around within Spain and throughout Europe, and you can also drive to many of these places as well. Now, Naval Station Rota is considered the gateway to the Med, or the Mediterranean. Naval Station Rota is a Spanish naval base owned and commanded by a Spanish admiral, but it is home to 44 tenant commands comprising approximately of 3,000 Americans within a 25-mile area. U.S. and Spanish navies work together and share many facilities under the guidance of the Agreement of Defense Cooperation. Naval Station Rota has all the amenities of a base in the States as well. It has its commissary, Navy Exchange, and Navy Lodge, and they all have been recently updated. The exchange and the commissary make shopping on base easy. I highly encourage you to visit the supermarkets out in town, which have everything that you'll need for the local, for the most part, and for most cases, and it'll also be a little bit cheaper in some cases as well. Excuse me. Base facilities. For base facilities, we have MWR. They have a very strong presence in Rota. There is a 12-lane bowling alley, a movie theater, as well as a Liberty Center for single sailors. The fitness center with a full 400-meter track, basketball and tennis courts, an aquatic center with both indoor and an outdoor pool. Perhaps most importantly, MWR offers tours and weekend trips to help you explore Spain and get a taste of Spanish culture, which me and my family personally used when we first got there for our first year, because we weren't quite sure on how to do our travels around Europe and within the local culture of Spain. So we ended up utilizing the MWR as our means to travel for that very first year we were there. MWR's speciality is the culture and historic tours to nearby Jerez de la Frontera and El Puerto de Santa Maria, which feature flamenco shows, the Andalusian horse shows, and tours of the world-famous Sherry wine bodegas, which I gotta say you have to visit. You have to do a flamenco show, And I highly recommend doing or visiting a bodega when you get there, because there's a lot of history when it comes to the wine and their culture when you visit Spain. Other popular trips to go to are Cordoba, Granada, Ronda, Sevilla, Gibraltar, and even Portugal. And I don't want to forget Cadiz either, which is less than 10 to 15 minutes away if you take the ferry from Rota to Cadiz, which is very famous town. And Portugal, I would visit Portugal many times as well. Me and my family, we would travel and drive there, which is merely roughly about 4 hours from Rota to get to the Portugal borders. And the border town there is known as Albufeira, and a great little town as well. Beautiful scenery, high cliffs, and the water is magnificent. Great beaches there, and the food is excellent as well. Definitely take advantage of these trips and tours while you are visiting and staying in Rota. Other facilities are Base Hospital. Active duty members and their dependents will receive their medical care at the Naval Station Rota Hospital. In regards to base housing, all incoming officers and enlisted personnel on accompanied tours have the option to reside on base in family housing or to secure a private lease on the economy. There are 2, 3, and 4 bedroom housing options for officers and 3 and 4 bedroom options for enlisted base housing, which all have been or are currently being upgraded now. It takes about 2 weeks on average to be assigned to base housing. All E4 and below on unaccompanied orders are required to live in unaccompanied housing upon arrival to Rota. E4 and below residents are housed in modules. Each module is comprised of 2 separate bedrooms, each approximately 120 square foot, separated by a shared bath and kitchen area. E3 and below are housed in shared bedrooms with no more than 2 active duty per bathroom. The bathroom comprises of 2 bedrooms, bathroom and kitchen area. Whether you live on base or in town, keep in mind that the homes are smaller than in states. So some of your larger furniture may not fit. Also be aware that there are no storage facilities on base to store any extra furniture or household goods. All right, now to talk about the schools. The school is the David Glasgow Farragut Schools, also known as DGF, are the DoD schools on base. There is an elementary school as well as a combined middle and high school. The schools are located right by the base housing neighborhoods. Child Development Center provides full-time child care needs for 6 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. Monday through Friday for children ages 6 weeks to 5 years old. School Age Care, also known as SAC, provides before and after school care for children kindergarten through 6th grade, 6 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. Monday through Friday. Also, one good thing to note is be sure to try to contact your school that your kids are leaving from, so that way they can provide or be prepared to provide transcripts to DGF when they arrive. Or you may want to hand carry this as well. Just something good to know. Okay, when the Griffins arrive in Spain, we will be the first U.S. helicopter squadron to be stationed in Rota. It takes time to build up this infrastructure and support we are used to operating with back here at home. So when we first arrive, we will be working out of temporary facilities. We will have 4 brand new temporary office trailers, 3 will be used for office spaces, and 1 will be used for heads and locker rooms. We will also have 2 temporary hangars with 1 full-size crane for our aircraft while our brand new hangar is being built. If you look at a map of the base, you will be on the airfield side right next to hangar 5. Okay. Okay, so to talk a little bit more about Spanish culture, this is the exciting stuff, the fun stuff. Family, culture, identity are the core values of Spanish culture. Spanish culture is vibrant and unique mixture of modern influences and deeply rooted traditions, which is reflected in its visual arts, music, cuisine, religion, and recreational activities. Roman Catholicism is the most predominant religion in Spain, practiced by 68% of the population. As such, Easter and Holy Week are extremely important in Spain. And usually during these times, during the religious weeks, they tend to take a lot of time off or leave, which is granted by them if they're working for our government. The language known in Spain is Castilian Spanish. Now, when you talk to an Andalusian or someone that speaks Castilian, you'll notice that they'll have a lisp. I'll explain a little bit more about the history about that when I'm finished here, but it is common that they speak with a lisp when they speak Spanish. So don't be surprised when you hear it. Meals start later and are more leisurely than what you may be used to in the States. So roughly dinner would normally start for us between 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. For them, it would probably start around 9 p.m. and wouldn't finish till about 11 p.m. in the evening. The culture is more laid back and relaxed pace of life. And traditionally, to take a siesta at midday is common. Example, if when you go into a restaurant, the waiter will definitely come to you and ask you for your order. Once they take your order and they serve you your food, once you're done, it won't be so common for them to have you rush off out of the restaurant. And it's not so common. It's always common, or it is common, to see people just hanging around and lounging and maybe ordering a cup of cafe while they're sitting down and talking for like an extra 30 minutes to an hour after they finish their meal. So this is very common in Spain. Your favorite part of being stationed in Spain? Okay. One of my favorite parts was being the historic value and the culture of Spain. Some things that tips to adjust to. Don't be in a rush. The Spanish aren't in a rush, and you'll see that once you get there. As Americans, we're used to having things now. In Spain, they're used to getting things done, and it'll be at their own pace and at that time. So just kind of flow with it and get used to it. It's kind of nice. Siestas are a real thing, so have a plan. If you're getting off of work at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and you're feeling kind of hungry, I would say probably have a snack in your bag or pack a little extra in your lunch, because most things out in town won't be open. When you're driving, roundabouts.
There it is, there it is, there it is. I know. I can't seem to get over to the left, honey. I'll try next time. Sorry.
If you're not used to a roundabout, I would suggest to look on YouTube or find some roundabouts out here in the local city. Usually a good tip is you want to give way to the person to the left of you if they're already in the roundabout or entering into the roundabout, because they have the right of way. And they do honk, so don't be offended. It's not to offend you, it's to let you know that they are there and you could get out of the way, or you could speed up and flow with the traffic. Food, seafood. I already talked about the fish and the fish heads. You will get eyes with your fish. The nightlife. It's common to see kids at bars playing around with family as a family affair in a group. It's a part of their culture, but it's not uncommon to see kids out and about. So don't be surprised if you see that, and they won't kick you out if you bring your own kids if you end up going to a place like that. Just make sure you have a plan to get back home. Drinking. So drinking is very prominent in Spain. Shots aren't the same in Spain as they are here in the city, are here in the States. So be wise when you drink out there. As as this concludes my Spain culture tips to you. I hope you have a very good time, and I hope you look forward to visiting Spain. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to come and ask me. I'll be glad to answer them for you. And that's all I have. Thank you very much. Adios.
Good afternoon, Griffins. Lieutenant Commander Tarbox here. Unfortunately, moving to Spain isn't going to be all sangria and siestas. Today, we're going to discuss some of the finer points associated with the move to make sure that all of our sailors and your families are ready to go when it comes time to move to Rota. I also want to provide you with enough information so you can start formulating some questions to ask our panel when we conduct our live Q&A later today. So buckle up, grab some tapas, maybe some paella, a little sangria, I won't tell anyone, and let's get down to business. Today we are going to cover the difference between a PDS and a PCS move, the PDS business rules, entitlements you are authorized to receive while making an overseas move, general information about making an overseas move, and we'll also point out resources that are available to you now and throughout the move process. HSM 79 is conducting a home port change, or HPC, in which the entire squadron is moving from San Diego to Rota, Spain. Usually when a squadron or ship does an HPC, the move is accomplished through a permanent duty station change, or PDS. However, as EXO mentioned earlier, we were given an additional UIC in Spain to help facilitate our move. So we will be moving the squadron utilizing a combination of PDS orders as well as PCS orders. Sailors who are not in their normal PCS orders window may still be eligible to move under the PDS business rules. PDS business rules determine who can move and what entitlements you are eligible to receive in that move. Essentially, the business rules are driven by two important dates, the promulgation date and the effective date. The promulgation date is the date when orders will start to be written for a new location. So instead of sailors receiving orders to HSM 79 at North Island, they will receive orders to HSM 79 in Rota, Spain. Right now, our draft promulgation date is December 2021. The effective date is when we will be fully up and operational or effective in our new location. Our estimated effective date is July 2022. Based on those two dates, our PDS window is December 2021 and July 2022. To see who is eligible from our command to move to Spain, we look at your PRD compared to the effective date. From there, sailors are divided into 4 different categories. To see who is eligible from our command to move to Spain, we look at your PRD compared to the effective date. Remember, that is July 2022. From there, sailors are divided into 5 different categories. Category 0 are sailors transferring from HSM 79 prior to the effective date. You will execute your normal transfer to your new command and don't need to worry about going to Rota. Category 1 sailors are members who have more than 12 months remaining at the command after the effective date. So if you have a PRD of July 2023 or beyond, then you are in Category 1. This means that you can expect to move as part of the PDS, and you are also entitled to a full household goods shipment, dependent travel, and a POV shipment on your orders. Category 2 sailors are members whose PRD is after July 2022, but before July 2023. So you have less than 12 months remaining between the effective date and your PRD. If you fall into this category, then you may still need to go to Spain for a portion of time, based on the needs of our squadron. However, you will not be authorized to bring a household goods shipment, a POV, or your dependents. If you are a single sailor in this category, then the Navy will store your POV and household goods in non-temporary storage while you are gone. If you do have dependents, then they can stay where they are and you can continue to receive your BAH and CONUS entitlements while you are gone. Category 3 sailors are sailors who have PCS orders to transfer, retire, or separate after July of 2023. You won't be making the move if you have PCS orders to your next tour already. Category 4 sailors refers to our potential gains who will report to us sometime in the PDS window, between December 2021 and July 2022. These categories are a little hard to follow and can definitely be confusing, so please feel free to reach out with any questions that you have. As some of you may know, Senior Munez has already started to identify who falls into which category. I don't know if you've seen his tracker, but it's pretty impressive with all the columns and spreadsheets that he has going on. But as we get closer to our actual move, we're going to verify who is in what category with the experts from Bupers. They'll make sure that we have followed the business rules and properly identified all of our sailors, and they're also going to help us detail those Griffins who are not going to make the move. So the goal of this process is to make sure that we successfully move to Spain and take everyone with us that we can, but we also want to make sure that we're taking care of all the Griffins who are not moving to Spain as well. PCS tour lengths are different than PDS tour lengths when it comes to moving overseas. Normally, accompanied tours are a minimum of 36 months, and unaccompanied tours are a minimum of 24 months when you go overseas. However, if you move as part of a PDS move, then the minimum tour length is only 12 months for accompanied and unaccompanied tours. This is to give us some flexibility with who we bring with us. We want to ensure that we can have all the qualifications that we need in the squadron so we can continue to operate at a high level despite the challenges associated with such a big move. Let's do an example. So our effective date is July 2022. Let's say your PRD is December 2024. The difference between July 2022 and December 2024 is less than 36 months, which would normally be required to move with your family. However, under the PDS business rules, you meet the minimum 12-month requirement, so you and your family would be authorized to move. When you move overseas, you are eligible for a number of different entitlements, in addition to those you normally receive for a CONUS move, such as DLA and TLA. The first of these entitlements is Overseas COLA, or Cost of Living Allowance. This is a supplemental allowance to offset the higher prices of non-housing goods and services overseas. Think food and clothes, stuff like that. Receiving COLA helps sailors continue to have the same quality of life they have in the States. OHA, or Overseas Housing Allowance, is separate from COLA. This is what compensates for housing costs incurred by living overseas. Once you find a place to live in Rota, you will apply for OHA. You can use the OHA and COLA calculator on the Defense Travel website to see the estimated rate for each allowance in Rota. You are only authorized COLA and OHA if you are permanently stationed in Spain. So if you're one of the Griffins we're sending TAD, you can expect to receive normal TAD per diem. Despite these financial entitlements, moving overseas is still an expensive process, and it takes time to be reimbursed for all your expenses and file all your travel claims. So definitely try to save some money before you start the moving process. There are two types of passports we are concerned with for our move. The brown official no-fee passport that you may have seen, and of course, the typical blue tourist passport. As military members moving to Spain, you personally do not need either type of passport to get into the country. All you need are your military orders and your military ID. However, travel to countries outside of Spain will require a blue tourist passport. Even if you don't plan on traveling outside the country, many hotels in Spain require to see your passport when you check in. Military dependents, regardless of age, will need to obtain an official no-fee passport in order to move to Spain. It is also strongly encouraged that dependents get a tourist passport as well. No-fee passports are issued on the dry side of 32nd Street, where the NEX and the commissary are. The building is on the hill behind the NFCU. We will provide more detailed information on how to obtain a no-fee passport at a later date. Another critical component of overseas moves is the overseas screener. This is a lengthy process that must be completed by the service member and all dependents. Service members will have 30 days to complete the process, and dependents will have 60 days upon receipt of orders. It is imperative that you are honest throughout the screening process and disclose any chronic medical conditions that you or your family members have. And please keep the chain of command updated if there is any change to you or your dependent's medical status. We have hard copies of the overseas screening packet in admin, so you can grab one and start taking a look at it to see what all the screening process entails. If you have a family member enrolled in the EFM program, you need to ensure they have a current and up-to-date status. PS1 Warren and Senior Chief Webb are the POCs for the EFM program at 79, and they can help you with this process. Rhoda is only able to support EFM categories 1 and 2. So if you currently have a family member who is categories 3 through 6, this will preclude you and your family from moving to Spain. We are currently tracking all individuals who have EFMs, but again, we need to be kept informed of any changes to your EFM status. You are allowed to bring your pets to Spain, but the Navy will not pay for their transport. It costs about $3,000 to ship an animal from San Diego to Spain commercially. Transports can also be impacted by the weather, as many airlines will not ship animals if temperatures are too hot or too cold. There is no quarantine requirement prior to or after arriving in Spain for pets. However, there are a number of other requirements that must be fulfilled, which are listed here. There is a vet clinic on Naval Station Rota. However, they do not provide any boarding or pet sitting services. It takes an average of 60 to 75 days to receive your household goods from the West Coast. An express shipment of items should arrive within approximately 40 days of you getting to Rota. Things to include in this shipment are bed sheets, pillows, any baby furniture, common household tools or kitchenware, and clothes that you will need immediately. Make sure you're packing for the right season. It is recommended to leave your large appliances in San Diego, as Naval Station Rota has appliances that you can borrow should you live out in town. Examples of appliances they have are dishwashers, refrigerators, washers, dryers, pretty much anything that you would need. And all of their appliances are compatible with the off-base electrical service. You are authorized one POV, it can be a car or motorcycle, per military member on orders, and that has to be shipped via your closest vehicle processing center. If your spouse is also PCSing on separate orders, then he or she is authorized their own POV. In addition to the POV that you ship over, you are allowed to purchase and maintain one European Union manufactured vehicle. Keep in mind that the roads in Spain are more narrow than what you have to deal with over in the States, so driving and parking can be challenging, especially if you have a larger vehicle. That's why it's common for folks moving to Spain to leave their larger or newer cars back in the States and purchase or rent an older, smaller car that's easier to use in Spain. That concludes my brief for today. I know I covered a lot of different topics and put a lot of information out there, so don't feel bad if you're confused or if you have a lot of questions about anything that was covered, or even if you have questions about things that I did not discuss today. Like I said earlier, this is just the first of many informational sessions that we're going to be having to prepare you and your families for the move to Rota. So please write down any questions you have. Definitely submit them in our live stream question and answer session that we're having on Friday. Or if you're more comfortable, you can submit your question via your chain of command or email myself or Senior Munez, or feel free to swing by our transition office upstairs anytime, and we're happy to talk to you about all things Rota. Thank you very much for your attention, and I look forward to seeing your questions at the live stream Q&A.
All right, we are recording, so whenever you want to start, sir, you can just go and speak normally. These are all going into the outtakes.
Now, if I speak loudly, am I going to trip the circuit breaker like the one I'm seeing?